So in this video, we're going to make this section mobile responsive. This section underneath here, we're going to make it mobile responsive. So let's just quickly inspect this and resize our browser and see how this is looking on a mobile view. So let's resize this browser down now. Let me bring this here so you can see this properly in the center. Now let's scroll down. As you can see, everything is responsive. The images, the boxes, everything here is responsive except this last section here. You can see this text section, section that we have text is still taking the width of 58.33%. and the image is still taking a width of 41.66% that we specified inside of our desktop stylings. Okay, so it's still inheriting the stylings from our desktop styling where we styled it. So we need, on a mobile view, we need to give this a width of 100%, just like the rest of our columns. Just like the rest of these columns here, we need to give it a width of 100% because right now they are still taking the width of 58.33%, and the image is still taking the width of 41.66%. So we need to override that. Okay, so let's just go into our styles.css. So inside of our mobile view, inside of our mobile styles here is a max width of 780 pixels. Let's make sure we give that a width of 100%. So as you can see, we already have a column 6 that has a width of 100% and a column 4. So we can just add those classes here. Okay, so we can just come here and just come over here and put our class. So say dot column 7, and then we can add column 5 as well. But make sure you use your comma. After your column 7, you use your comma, and then let's add our column 5 dot column 5. Then you specify your comma as well. So make sure you use this comma to separate them. This comma is the key here. So column 7 and column 6 and column 5 and column 4, we are giving it a width of 100% and a margin of 0 on a mobile view. Okay, so now let's refresh this and see how it's looking on a mobile view. Refresh. Now you can see the text and the image, they are now stacking upon each other. Okay, they are now stacking upon each other. As you can see, they are now taking the width of 100% and the margin of 0. But as you can see here, one thing we need to change, you can see the text is still big and we need to reduce this text in a mobile view. So we'll reduce this text. And another thing to notice here, if we go down to the image, you can see this image is overflowing. Our image is still overflowing, so we need to make sure this contain the width of 100% inside of this mobile view. So, but first of all, let's work with our text and let's reduce the size of that text. So remember, it's the article paragraph. So we just come down here and specify the article. After the article, then you call the child, which is the paragraph. And remember, we gave it a font size of 30 pixels in our desktop styling. So inside of our mobile view now, we're going to give it a font size of 20 pixels. Font size of 20 pixels. Now let's see how that is looking. Refresh. Now you can see the text. It's a little bit now it's now reduced. As you can see, the text is now reduced. I think let's just add a little bit to it. Let's add I think it's too small. Let's just add a font size of 25 pixels. Refresh. Now I think this is okay for the font size. So the text now is now reduced. So now let's work with this image that is overflowing here. So the image is overflowing. So let's make sure we give the image a width of 100%, because if you can go up here, we are only giving the column. If you notice, we are only giving the column a width. We are giving the column a width of 100%. We are not giving the image. So we need to give the image and not the column. So let's give the image a width of 100%. So if we go over to your index.html here, as you can see here, we gave the image a class name of pizza container. Okay, we gave it a class name of pizza container. So let's work with that class now. And let's go down. So down here, you just say div dot pizza container. Now let's give it a width of 100%. So width 100%. Now let's see how this is looking. Let's see if we have solved this problem. Refresh now. Now let's see. Oh, no, this is still overflowing, and I think I know the reason why it's still overflowing. If you can notice here, we are giving the parent. So this div.pizza container is the parent of the image. So we are giving the parent a width of 100%. We are not giving the actual image that we are targeting. Remember, we are targeting the image and not the container. So this div.pizza container is the container of the image. So we are targeting, what we are doing here is we are targeting the parent, and that is not what we want. We need to target the child element. So if you go back to your index.html here, this is the container of this image, and that is not what we are targeting. We need to target the child element. So this is the parent. So we need to target the child element, which is the image. So let's go back to our styles.css now. What we need to do here is we need to throw in the image. So after the parent element, we need to call the child element, which is the image. So after your div.pizza container, you give your space and then you call img, which is the child. So now we are targeting the child element and not the container. So now let's refresh this and see how it's looking. Refresh. Now you can see this is good. It's now taking the width, the image is now taking the width of 100%. It's no longer overflowing. So this is really good. So the next thing to do here, if you can notice, the image is too close to the edge. There is no space here on the edge of the image on both sides. There is no space. So we need to create a margin on this image, okay? So this will look a little bit good. So it will look very good. So we need to create a margin. So we can just come here and do a margin. Instead of the image, you do a margin of 10 pixels. A margin of 10 pixels. Let's see how this is looking. Refresh. Now if you notice, you can see now there's a margin of 10 pixels over here. So but one thing you can see, if we do this, you can see the image is still moving, so it's still overflowing a little bit. So just watch as I'm moving this. You can see it's still moving, so it's still overflowing. So we need to stop that. So what we need to do, we don't need to give the image a margin of 10 pixels. We actually need to give the container a margin of 10 pixels. Okay, we need to give the container and not the image, because this time we just want some space all around the container. So what we need to do here, we just need to go up one level. So we say div, we just call the container div dot pizza container, and then this is where we are going to give a width. I'm sorry, not width. Give it a margin of 0. Not margin of 0. Give it a margin of 10 pixels. I'm sorry for that. We are going to give the container a margin of 10 pixels. We are not giving the image, but the container, because we want a margin of 10 pixels all around the container and not the image. The image, we are only giving the image a width of 100%, and as for the space, we are giving the container a space of and a margin of 10 pixels. So we want that space on that container. So if we refresh this now, let's see if this is going to work. Refresh. Now you can see this is working properly. We now have space on both sides, and this is no longer overflowing. So this is what we want. Everything is looking good here so far. Everything is looking nice. So this is so good. Everything here is mobile responsive, including our image and our text. So congratulations to you, as in the next video we are going to start building the last part of this course, which is the footer. Now the footer is always the last thing on the web page, so we are going to start building that in the next video. So I'll see you guys in the next video.